so in the last part of the section, we're just again going to be doing a little bit more sort of tidying up in the model and looking at maybe some floor junctions, some roof and ceiling junctions. At the moment, I've just cropped this from a previous tutorial. I'll uncrop it, and if we move out of our ceiling plan for now and look at our section, we tidied up our ceiling in a roundabout way in the previous tutorial. We want to maybe look at how certain items might join up. So in the ground floor view, there's a few more sections available here, and I think it was this one where it highlighted some issues on how the ceiling and the roof and everything's going to come together. So sometimes for clarity, I like to do everything in 3D. So you could even orientate this to that section for floor view, orientate to a view, and then you can go to sections, and this was section 4. And this will kind of crop it. Just helps you better understand junctions. You know, a lot of times, even in some practices, they build some of these items all in 3D. So some projects I've worked on, they build a 3D detail with actual real materials to ensure it's all worked out. You can see here from this split wall detail, it's come through here and the roof or the ceiling. So we'll probably do things in a couple ways here. This stud wall, maybe we could beef it up. It's going to be a garage wall, and it needs to pick up this particular roof. So we need to re-examine how we're going to do this. I'm going to delete this one out, and here as well, I've got a ceiling in here as well. I actually want some of these spaces to be double heights. So, you know, this is kind of cool. It's kind of nice to actually explore your model all in 3D. And you can sketch through everything as well. Sketching is always going to be the fastest way to do it. But testing and examining it in 3D can be really important as well. Now, that particular ceiling to that hallway, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have this all open as high as possible. And we can start to see here, we're going to need some supports for this roof. So probably, you know, down the track for fire reasons, we'll need to enclose this hall anyway. I'm going to attach that wall to that roof, and because we've got these setups for the structure to structure, because this will be a load-bearing wall, you see it's going to the actual joists, which we set up in a previous tutorial. I'll do the same for this wall, and I'll just attach it. It's going to miss, of course, because the roof wasn't perfectly aligned with that wall. So the roof just needs a few adjustments here. I want the roof to follow what's going on with this wall as opposed to the wall move for the roof. So that particular roof, I'm going to edit that footprint. We're in our sketch design mode. I want this line of the roof to align with the face of this wall. We'll do that. We can lock it in. Go done. And this particular roof door, and sorry, this particular wall, we're going to attach. And that's going to clean it up. Now, this may need to be something else as opposed to a stud work wall, especially if it's in a garage. So I'm going to go here now and do a couple of things with that wall. So this is going to be garage workshop. Now I can do things like split this wall. So I think I might have shown this previously. I can split that element, and I want to split it from this point. And I'm going to split it just in here, split it here, just attach targets, and we could bring that back, so we can just trim that to here, and then this wall here could come back to here. Now it may clean up, which it has. I'm going to go to here and just disallow join for now. Look here, and I want these walls here to be block work walls. So I'll just go here. If they haven't been created here, this one is just a generic 100mm wall. There is no block work wall, I don't think. There's a brick and block. I'm just going to go again here, like previous tutorials, we will go to edit type, we will duplicate, and I'm going to call this 100 block wall, so blocks on their ends, and depending on the country you work on will depend on the thickness of the block that you get. In certain countries it's 140, other countries it can be 100. Comes down to building materials. So I'm just going to do concrete masonry units. This is one I used before. There's an appearance here of what those blocks look like. So CMU running grey, so staggered, bonded together, and I'm just going to go OK. And we can even see here in the preview how it's going to look. Now we'll eventually put plasterboard on one side, plasterboard on dabs, depending on how you want to do this. You might want to insulate it, but I just want to show the load bearing condition here. And now in plan we can see it's a blockwork wall. I could fiddle around with the hatching as well. I'm just going to use the MA tool to match properties from here to here, and now go back into my section and see that this is the blockwork wall picking up that part of the joist. Now again, the joist and everything can be worked out. We'll probably need to go back and investigate how the joists are going to sit with these two walls, how they're going to run. Maybe you need to have some steel work in here, like a steel lintel over the large glazing openings. But again, you can start to examine and test all of this as you go. So some nice little things here just to sort of start working out how everything's going to go together. Again, I can just match properties on that wall with that one, and I'll probably add a finish. I can trim that up. Oh, doesn't quite like it. If it's not playing quite nice, again, you can just disallow join and bring this across. There's probably several things I can do here. I could split all this up so it works a little bit better, or I could go to the roof plan area and start to look at how that might join. I don't know if I can see it on my ceiling plan. There we go, I can see it on my ceiling plan. So I can bring this up. Maybe I could just go disallow join so it doesn't mess it up at the moment. Again, it's just block work. Back inside of that 3D view. Back inside of that 3D view, we can see that sort of cleaned up. And depending on what we're going to class on, we can work this all out a little bit later. But that's just a quick example of how to tidy everything up. So when you're actually calling out that section, things are starting to look a little bit more proper. Another thing we have here, just to note, you can see how it's picking up maybe a little bit too much information here. Like, we're just wanting to look at the junction between the flat roof, the parapet, how this wall is going to pick up this space above. So we want to sort of just crop it back to here, for example. We just want that information. So in that section, what we can do is we can go to our ground floor plan. Here's our section, and you can see it's grabbing all that information. We just want to look. We just want to investigate this little junction here. Maybe bring it out. Maybe it's going to be this whole area. So I'm just going to grab all the information, bring out the section marker. Again, just split it, and we can drag all this back. There's other tools you can do here. You can even split the segments if you want to stagger it. But I'm just going to keep this pretty simple. This is going to be the thing that's going to dictate what you're going to see. This is just annotation. Now when we go back to this particular section, it's picking up more information that we might need, so we can get a better idea of what everything needs to be. And again, I might just make these all block work to hold up certain components of that roof. And yeah, just a nice simple way to test everything, get a better feeling for how this building is going to go together at an early stage. Sometimes people don't work this out till a later stage, and then they sort of agonize working out all the details. I usually like to sort of understand how things are going on during the process. But yeah, sketch designing is usually the fastest way to do it. And now just orientated again to that view. And here we have a few junctions, or identifying a few junctions, a few things we need to think about, especially the design process, like what's it like to come into this room? Should they benefit from this double height space? Maybe this one needs to attach to here, and maybe the ceiling needs to go back, and you can put a skylight in here. It could be a nice little moment as you enter that space.
Okay, finally here as a little bonus feature, I'll show you how to do this as a perspective view. I do apologize if my mic was a bit crappier earlier, just wasn't connected properly. Here we have a ground floor plan, and we want to do a section perspective view cutting through this space. What I can do is I can start to do a default camera view. Sorry, ground floor, a camera, and we'll just do something central, just like that. And here's our starting point. We want to cut a big section through this, do something quite nice. It could be something you could present in front of a client. It's good to have floor plans and sections and everything. Sometimes clients can't read floor plans or sections, they can't fully understand it. That's why we have those IKEA diagrams to show how furniture goes together, and then wayfinding diagrams for the layperson to understand how to navigate through a building. We can do the same here with our Revit software. So with that ground floor 3D plan, 3D view, I'm going to duplicate it. Let's do the basic duplication, and we'll call this 3D perspective. So 3D section perspective. And we want to orientate to a view. So it'll be the last camera view that we set up. So orientate to a view, 3D views, and the last one we created was 3D view 4. So here we have our view here, and this is where it's going to get a little bit fiddly to set up. So it was 3D view 4. Here's the perspective. We've aligned ourselves to the view. Projection mode, perspective. Now you can see that. You can play around with the eye elevation. We can start to muck around with this as needed. What I want to do here is turn on the section box and then grab that section box. And you could get a bit confusing here, but we're going to be dragging this back to cut through the building. So I'm just going to zoom in. If you get a little bit lost, you can also do this both in the 3D view here. It's the section box that I'm grabbing. I'm just doing it in perspective at the moment. So again, it's this one here that I'm grabbing, and it's just cutting back through the building. So this is a nice way to quickly display how the building is going to cut. You can show this to a client. So that's the section box that I'm grabbing. Now you will need to keep this on. If you turn it off, everything's going to disappear. You can also crop the view. If you don't want to be showing that section box in the view, so I'll just bring some of this information in a little bit. Last little bit to bring in. If you don't want to be seeing that in the view here, this wireframe box, under your visibility graphics, so VG, you can navigate into this, go to your annotation categories, and you should be able to turn off the section box. There you have it. So nice little 3D view here, and you can put this on a sheet. You can go to the graphic display options, and maybe you want to not have it realistic. You don't want to talk about materials with the client at the beginning. You just want it to be a hidden line item. You may just want to have ambient shadows and go apply. And here we have a nice little setting for our model. We could start to detail over the top of it as well. So you draw over a section, or you could start to draw over some of the stuff in 3D. But they'll kind of get it because they can sort of see it in 3D. They can really understand it. And also you can start to see issues with your model that may need some review. But that's a really cool way to present a section with a bit more impact. And other tools might even be available here. So we could lock that. So now you can't move it around. That's the view we want. And like some of the other tools that we had in previous tutorials, we might be able to annotate, maybe not in this view. Okay, it's probably only in the default 3D views. So you can see here where I have my perspective view. When I wanted to do some annotation, it's all grayed out. When I go to this one, it's not grayed out. I can actually tag in this view. If I just go and save orientation, lock that view. So this could be axo section, and with that we can go and tag items here. So depending on whether you've added all this information, so I haven't put any tags in here. But what's cool here is if you go and add a tag, and this is just simply adding one. Type mark is wall type 1, for example. Apply. Is that reading in that tag? Did I get the right one? No, it's not pulling it out there. And no doubt I've probably done it wrong. Hit a type. Where is it? Type mark, sorry. Type mark here. Wall type 1. Let's just double check that's worked. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, type mark. I apologize. So yeah, you can start to do all this, and anything that's available there, like the windows or the roofs, you can tag it in 3D as well. So that was just finishing up, working out some of those details, and then coming up with a sectional perspective, which you could put in front of your client. If you need to explain where the money's going on the project, why are these floors so expensive, or why does it cost so much to do this landscaping, you can sort of explain, well, here's what goes into your building, here's all the parts to it, and they can sort of see it in context of a 3D view.